Hello, Srijan. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your name, but hello. I'm working on my FPS game. Uh, I do have the latest devlog video on my YouTube page, so if you're curious, you can watch that. But generally, I'm working on my own FPS game. It's a multiplayer game. So far, the plan. I have a very loose plan. I'm planning on this being uh, free for all. I would hate to say battle royale because that genre has been so uh, plagued, I guess, by PUBG and what's the other game? Fortnite. So I don't think this is going to be anything remotely close to PUBG or Fortnite. The only thing that is similar is the battle royale aspect where you're just fighting each other. Yeah. So so I'm just explaining my general direction with my devlog videos. So if you're curious, you can watch that. If you have any more detailed questions, you're more than welcome to ask. hope you didn't hear a loud bump. Hello, Backbench. Backbench says pretty regular nowadays. Nice. I'm guessing you're talking about me streaming regularly, or I don't know what you're referring to when you say regular, but thanks for coming. Right now, I'm working on my level design. So yesterday, I finished working on parts of my UI. I finished fixing it. I've got the tab stats, the ability to create UI elements at runtime. So that's done. Today, I'm now writing the basis for the level in which you fight in. So Backbench says, do you create UI elements as prefabs? Yes, I do. Uh, pretty much everything I work with inside Unity, pretty much everything is a prefab. Um, you could use non-prefabs, but that would be inefficient, I would say. Hello, Srijan. Welcome back. I do use prefabs for each of my UI elements. But I guess the more important question is, how do you use them? Uh, thanks, Srijan. I'm glad you like it. So back to my UI being made up of prefabs. Okay, I think a lot of newcomers that come to my Discord server, or they're just starting out in Unity or game dev in general. A lot of them have problems managing prefabs, loading them when necessary, or unloading them when you don't need them anymore. Those kind of things, I don't think Unity officially focuses too much on those things. But those are basic programming skills, I mean. Which is why I continue to recommend some of the lower level languages compared to Unity, GUI, and C Sharp. Um, but as for my UI, I have something called Resource Loader, and in Resource Loader has a bunch of other stuff like. Let me fire up my game. Sometimes I forget my own code. So as soon as I start the game, I start loading. I don't have a loading screen yet, but it's pretty fast considering I'm not loading too many things. So I've got the game element loader. These are things like weapons and grenades and ground, houses, everything you see as a 3D model inside a game. I got the menu sound loader, gun sound loader, UI loader. So each of the UI elements go under things like the UI loader, or I have a more specific loader called UI element loader. All these bunch of loaders that do nothing but loading. And I packaged every one of those elements into a Unity prefab, and I load them whenever I want to. Backbench says, to be honest, I don't like Unity UI stuff. It's not that friendly for coders. I used to do UI stuff in XML during Android Java days. I agree that I would also say Unity UI, the default Unity UI, isn't that good. Um, Compared to something like NGUI. I used to work extensively with NGUI, but that was many years ago. But it was really good. It's got a bunch of functionalities and features that you can use to create a really complex MMORPG menu. So that was one example. If I were to do that with Unity UI, it would be much more difficult. It would maybe not so difficult, but it would definitely take much longer time. What I don't agree is the part where you said it's not that friendly for coders. Mm, I'm not sure what you mean by code being not friendly for coders. Uh, I guess you can say that the user interface isn't that friendly. But I also think it's almost impossible for the interface of a game engine to be friendly because it's got so many moving parts. There's just so many things that you have to learn just on the surface level. Mm. But even before that, there's a lot of underlying knowledge that you need before you start understanding even the interface. So there's a lot going on definitely, and Unity UI definitely is not the most user friendly. Mm. But I'll say this for my game, I'm trying to keep UI minimal. I don't like being drowned in so many UI buttons and text that I have to read and click on, and I have to learn. I hate I hate it when I have to learn the UI. The fact that you have to learn the UI means you've already lost the prime objective of a user interface. Backbench says especially things like grid, layout elements, a lot of guesswork and clicking, especially when you have to properly divide a screen space for different elements. Okay, okay. Now I get what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Unity is completely different from something like uh, something like building a front end, for example. Uh, I would guess that's what you're comparing Unity UI to. So, game UI is not an entire industry. It's a job definitely, but it's not an entire industry like like a front end for a web page or some sort of a web app. There's a lot of custom stuff for any game, I would say, which makes it extremely difficult to be standardized or to have any kind of a commonly accepted a workflow or anything like that. That becomes extremely difficult for games because every game is different. How they render things is very different. You can have a completely different render pipeline, whereas for something like something like a web page, most of them work on Chrome. Uh, so so when we're talking about something like Unity GUI, it's something that is completely custom to Unity Engine and Unity Engine only, which makes it very not user friendly for anyone who's not accustomed to the Unity engine. And the same thing goes to probably other game engines as well. Uh, but I would say those things are pretty superficial. Uh, I only use the Unity GUI for detecting clicks, rendering buttons on the screen, rendering text. Pretty much everything else is just my own code. So my own code is reasonably friendly enough for me. Sometimes even my own code is unfriendly to me. I think a lot of programmers have that issue. You write something and then you look at it again later and it just looks horrible. Anyways, Electrify, welcome again. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. If you're just here, I'm working on my level design now. So right now, I want to create so for my fight scene, I'm calling it a fight scene, the place where you shoot people. I'm gonna have a ground creator. Right now, I'm just dragging prefabs into the scene, but I want to have a code that does that for me. Backbench says, how do you handle adding particles on UI, say like flame effect on some text or image, etc.? Normally, I wouldn't want particles on my UI layer. Maybe I do. I haven't thought about it that much because, again, I said I want my UI to be very minimal. But coming from my experience many years ago, we were trying to render VFX like Unity particle effects on the UI layer. At the time, it was very difficult. Well, not very difficult. Wasn't really that difficult for me because I just had to change uh, the render order for the VFX things to show up on your UI layer. I don't know how Unity handles that today. What I talked about was even before Unity 5. So it might be completely inaccurate in today's Unity versions. Uh, so that's all I can say for now. But let me do a little test right now. So I have my canvas, my UI, got my UI. Can I render VFX on the UI canvas? Where's the maybe, maybe not. I have not looked into this. Okay. It's not even scaling properly. I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah, it's not even. Yeah. So it's the same issue that I had many years ago. You had to write a custom layer for this to show up on your UI screen. You can if you wanted to. But the problem that I had, or the problem that we had back in the day, was the artists didn't understand this, which made the entire workflow extremely inefficient. Let's Google this. Unity particle system on screen space on UI. Let me Google that. Electrify. I'm not listening to anything. I'm just listening to the sound coming from my desktop. You guys can't hear it, but when I shoot something in my game, I hear the gun sound. But I left that out because I think it would be extremely annoying for you to constantly hear the gun sound coming out. Okay, so there is a video called UI particles. Okay, so it looks like he's talking about the same thing. Huh. Looks like he's rendering this right now on the canvas, I think. Is he? Or is the canvas overlapping with the main camera? Okay. Yeah. There would be several different ways to circumvent this. Render texture is probably definitely one of them. I would just have. I think for the most part, if things could be done in with sprites, I would do that. But if you're talking about something like a flame, that would definitely need some sort of a particle effect system. So I can't say much without getting into the specifics. Right now, my UI is based on things like enlarging text or highlighting the text as in changing colors. I don't have something like a flame on my UI space, on screen space. Mm. But I think it would be more intuitive to just have the effects on the same space as the other objects on your UI. I'm just blabbing stuff right now because I'm not doing it at the moment. Mm. And a lot of the stuff depends on specifically what you're trying to do. So for example, we had trouble many years ago. We had trouble highlighting a button because we wanted a flame to uh, to sort of be on a dolly track around a button, which is a box. So we wanted a flame to travel alongside that line of the box of a button. For some reason, it was extremely difficult back then. Can't even remember why. But let me check out this video. So this guy is just putting a prefab on UI. Okay, this video is not that relevant. Probably not, but let me just run a few experiments right now. I mean, you don't have to say sorry for asking. The whole reason why I'm doing this live is because I want people to ask stuff that I never thought about. Oh, hold on. Okay, you can't post links on the Unity on YouTube chat for some reason. If you want to post links, put it on my Discord server. It gets blocked automatically. I haven't figured out how to turn that off. But once you have a particle system that shows on your screen space, and then there's no more problem. And I did used to render that on screen space, so all I needed was a script. A particle system now. But this is completely in world space. So right now, this has to be within the view of the actual physical, what do you call this? World camera? Okay, I'm looking at Unity UI extensions. What is this? I mean, this is just a normal, looks like a pretty normal documentation for, oh, it's a UI particle system. Okay, what is this? Oh, a system to control render the native Unity pipelines. Okay, yeah. This is very similar to what I talked about. You just need a little more code to render that on your screen space. I'm not even sure if I'm using the term correctly, but on your UI layer, basically. So you can definitely use stuff like this. My question is, I feel like this might be an overkill. Hmm. Oh. I mean, I'm probably not going to have time to go through everything today, but it shouldn't be that difficult to render some VFX on your UI. You just need time to figure out a simple solution. Oh, okay, so this guy's using the exact same system. I want a simpler solution, if there is one. because I think this is an interesting topic. Is because if I remember correctly, it wasn't that difficult. It was difficult finding the right place or the right setting for the camera. So let me look at it. Oh, there definitely is. I say this because I did it. And I simplified it down to attaching a game object with a script. It's been so long. So it's definitely not impossible. It's pretty easy. Screen space overlay. And the thing is, once I'm curious about something, I have to look. So, wait, raw order. Mm, hmm. Okay, let me get to figuring this out. So Backbench says only other way I could think of was creating some special shader which would render as UI element. Can we change how we render stuff using mono behavior? You probably can. I'm looking into render queue. So I'm trying to figure this one out. Okay. Backbench says it seemed hard to implement. I don't have much knowledge of shader code. Oh, I don't think it's got to do with shaders and the VFX themselves. I think it's got something to do with sorting and render queues. So let me figure this one out. I think it's I would say it's definitely possible. I just gotta find out where to look. Once I do know where to look, it could be as easy as a few lines of code. Oh no, it's not silly. I've been curious about this. I just was not looking into it because my UI was always meant to be very minimal. But now that I have gotten interested, it's like I can't help myself. Once I find a question that I'm not so sure about, I have to look into it. And these little things, um, these little things eventually add up to your final product, to your project. So so I'm not just wasting my time here. I'm figuring things out, and figuring things out is always fun. Uh, I say this because a lot of people come and ask, and it seems like they're always looking for. I'm not talking about everyone, but some people they're always looking for a quick solution to a very complex problem, and they tend to generalize things. So it's not silly, definitely. So Unity XP. Yeah, I don't value Unity XP itself that much, um, but some of these things are important in your project. I mean, you what if you want, like you said, what if you want a fire on your UI? These things can be relevant, and and my general philosophy is you got to enjoy sitting down for hours and hours and figuring things out. Backbench says Unity community now depends on you, senpai, to show us the way. The community does not depend on me, but hopefully I can find an easy solution to this. I think I'm gonna end the stream now. I have not done any work, but I don't think I'm gonna aim towards getting actual work done during these live streams anymore. That was the initial goal, to get something done while I'm live streaming. But it turns out it's probably very difficult to do both of those things at the same time. But I don't mind interacting with people. It's just that I don't have enough audience to have a constant interaction every time I go live stream. So when I'm not talking, I could either just sit there or work on my game. I chose to work on my game while I sit here. I think I'm going to continue tomorrow. And after I end this stream, I'm going to continue to work on, or continue to figure out a way to have some sort of a VFX system on my UI. Okay, so that's it for today. Backbench, thanks for coming. It's a really interesting question. I hope I find a quick and easy solution today. I hope I can do it today. But I'm pretty sure eventually I'll get it. The only question is when. So thanks for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.